much I've already been through. You don't know the place I'm coming from. I've been high, I've been low, fought the demons in my soul. You don't know how much I've already been through.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. I am Henry, host of Tel Aviv Tech Talks. I'm sitting here with Benjy Gilman. Benjy, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Henry. Appreciate it. Nice to be here.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your company to get started off, a little introduction.
Sure. So MyInterview is a video screening tool which allows employers to be able to see the personality of the candidates before bringing them in for a face-to-face interview. So we save a lot of time and money within this process for employers. We also use AI to help to surface candidates with a lot of good potential from their videos and bring them to the attention of employers when they have a lot of applicants applying for roles.
And you're currently in production of the service and everything?
Currently live, customers, revenue,
wonderful,
all of that. Yeah, it's been a journey.
How long have you guys been a company, or since you even started the idea? How long has the journey been so far?
Yeah, so we go back a long time, back actually to high school. My business partner and I were at the same high school together.
Okay.
And we wanted to start a jobs board for people who are graduating from high school, basically getting unskilled labor.
Mm-hmm.
But we were young, we saw this idea wasn't really working, but we could see that a lot of people who don't have relevant resumes can't really approach employment in such a confident manner, because there's no way for them to be able to present who they truly are, and they often get screened based on silly things such as their name or the school they went to, or rubbish. So we had this idea, we incubated it. After university, we established MyInterview as a video screening tool. Our main kind of frame is that we really wanted this to be something that can make an impact on the world and quickly. So we thought, what's a way to do that? Two-sided marketplaces are very difficult because you have to kind of build both sides, and candidates won't come if there's no jobs, and the employers won't come if there's no candidates. So we saw that wasn't really the way to go, and it was also very expensive to kind of build up that marketing effort. So we went with an integration approach. We integrate with job boards, with current HR software providers very deeply. So it's a lot of white label kind of solutions. So it gives us exposure to a very large market in quite a quick amount of time. So that was kind of the approach we did after high school. I then came to Israel 2.5 years ago, and we basically established our development team here. And we rebuilt the product and revamped it and started basically developing our AI front, so that we can now give even more value, and also have a platform which anyone can just sign up to and use it like a SaaS kind of solution as well.
And so you said you moved to Israel 2.5 years ago. Where did you move from?
Sydney, Australia.
Sydney, Australia. What drove you to, set up shop in Tel Aviv? So
the Australian government is pretty awesome in the sense that they provided us free office space for 3 months.
Okay.
As part of the landing pads program that they have around the world. They also gave us access to a business development manager here when we first arrived, and basically connected us to everyone. And then the main fact is we met our CTO here, and we just started hiring, and that was kind of a natural kind of thing to do. I always wanted to be in Israel. This is a great place to be. There's an incredible vibe. And a really good way of life that I kind of wanted to connect to. And the fact that this is the startup nation, there's so much about that, it kind of was the icing on the cake to kind of make the jump. Sure. To be here.
So I guess, how large is your company now? You said you started hiring, CTO, development.
That's it. So there's currently 12 of us. Next month there'll be 15. And we're looking to grow that at a good rate as we go. It's still small. Still early days.
Still small, yeah. Small isn't bad though. It's not the size that matters.
No, it's fantastic. Yeah. It's fantastic. You can have a culture.
Absolutely. And so when it comes to the software you're developing, what would you say? I know you touched briefly on the AI you're planning to implement. How is that, the competitive advantage that you're trying to use to set yourself apart from any other type of competitor you might come across?
We also sit at the front of the application process.
Okay.
So as soon as you apply for the job, you complete one of our interviews because we believe that's where the most value is, because you get the insight at the beginning. So they got the degree or whatever you're looking for. Immediately you get to see who they are, instead of having to pick up the phone, playing phone tag, and all of these kind of things, which are just
sure, tedious.
Yeah, tedious. Yeah. Exactly. And our competitors do second stage screening. So they go through the interviews and they send an email inviting the candidate to complete a video interview, which then you have to wait for them to complete it, which is often like 3-4 days later, and not all of them complete it, and it's a bit messy. So we said, okay, it needs to be at the front of the application process, it needs to be integrated, and it needs to be very easily integrated, and also at a good cost price. So you could get everyone to kind of complete an interview without being cost prohibitive. So our pricing is based on bulk. And then the AI came in, which is really came as part of being in Israel and just seeing the amazing AI community here, and that's where we could really kind of also make a mark, because video is so data rich. You're getting speech to text, emotions, tones,
expressions,
everything. You can take everything, and with machine learning, you can say, okay, this is what a successful candidate is, and we're busy building a database with successful candidates in different industries, experience levels, and locations, and basically siloing them. Then when a new candidate comes in, we can say how much do they have in common with those successful candidates who've been in a job for 2 months.
Okay.
So that basically enables us to flag great candidates based on a whole range of different data points.
Sure.
Who might have been looked over at the resume stage.
Do you have anything in place or I guess does the user get to decide what type of things they would consider a successful candidate? Because when it comes down to different positions, you might look for different things. Say an engineer might need different types of skills and I guess mannerisms, characteristics that a salesperson might not need.
Absolutely. And locations.
Yeah.
Your Israeli salesperson is very different from your American salesperson.
That's very true, yeah.
And so we silo it. So we take experience, location, and industry into account.
Okay.
So so you got your salesman in Israel who's junior will be in a separate category. We don't allow individual employers to say what their perfect candidate looks like, because we don't believe that they really know. I mean, it's subjective.
Yeah.
It's much better to have an objective view. So if we can get as much data we can in the pool, so that we can then make comparisons based off an objective sense of data. Granted, this needs to be a large set of data, but if we can do that, then we can start to really make some good insights. And also fantastic benchmarking. So you can see how your hiring processes are relating to everyone else. Which also allows you to flag biases or any discrimination that might be occurring, and all of this kind of thing. So this is also why we've developed the model of the machine learning that we have.
Are you at the level of data yet that you're able to make those type of insights, or are you obviously constantly growing and things like that? Yeah.
So we're still very, very early stages. We have around 250,000 interviews completed on our site, which isn't enough. And we are focusing on particular roles, so we're channeling that in certain places. But as time goes and with our partnerships, we will start to get more accurate in our assessments.
I know you said you started right out of high school, you had this idea. Is it the only really business idea you've ran with, or have you tried other ideas in the past?
So it's the only company that I've really run with because of time.
Sure.
And I've been doing it for quite a while now. But it has morphed and it has changed throughout that time. So we started off as this jobs board kind of a thing, and then it morphed into more of a screening software and integration piece. So you can kind of count that as maybe two kind of ideas, but not really.
Yeah.
This is really
it's just kind of an evolution of
it's an evolution of the product more than like a different business. Yeah.
How would you define your role and what you do in the company now that you're starting to build your team? How do you manage your oversight? Whereas I'm sure you were much more hands-on in the beginning when it was a much smaller team.
For sure.
So how do you see your own position evolving as the company does?
Yeah, so in the beginning I was kind of the marketing sales and ops kind of a person. And slowly I've been kind of pushing those kind of roles aside through hiring. So we've hired a head of sales. We're onboarding a new head of marketing soon. So I'm kind of pushing those roles aside and giving the responsibilities to amazing people who have come from amazing places who
Sure.
you can really trust. And then I'm taking more of a role on product and strategic direction. So basically looking at the product roadmap, scoping out what needs to be done so that we can be able to basically push this company in the right direction. I also do a lot of investor relations and everything that's involved in that, and recruitment and all of the general things that
Absolutely.
have to get done, but someone has to CEO has to do.
Absolutely. So you did just touch on briefly, I guess, investor relations.
Yeah.
What was the journey kind of like coming to Israel, trying to find investors, things like that? I know you said the Australian government did help in some way. I'm not like maybe in the investor way as well, if they maybe set you up with any meetings.
So they set us up with a lot of meetings.
Okay.
Met a lot of people within the Israeli ecosystem. I was very fortunate to the fact that we had raised capital before I came to Israel.
Okay.
So and it was from an Israeli venture capital firm. So it was fortunate in the sense that they've really backed us since this was just an idea, which is like it's very, very rare to kind of have that opportunity, and it really is luck. So we basically came with their backing.
Mm-hmm.
And then last year we were able to complete a seed round, which also involved some angel investors in Australia. So we were able to tap into that ecosystem.
Okay.
My business partner is still in Australia.
Okay.
So we have, we're a multinational corporation. Not really, but yeah.
But you got to foot in multiple doors. That's all right.
Yeah, multiple places,
Yeah.
exactly. So we were able to do that capital raise there with really amazing people who are not just, it's not just the investment that they made, it's also their time, their knowledge, expertise, and they really have a pulse on our industry and our space, which is helpful.
I know that you sounded very excited when you talked about building a corporate culture in your company, things like that. With it being such a small team, you said it's kind of easy to build.
Yeah.
When you start having 500, 1,000 employees one day, if you get there, when you get there, what's the kind of culture that you'd like to see in the company, and how do you plan to get there?
So it's an amazing question. We've always thought of our company as like a family, and with it being small, you can do family things. Like you can, we have lunch together every day. You're very intimately linked to people's lives within your company, so you're able to kind of build that relationship, and that's really what a good company culture is about: is having strong relationships with all of your team.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that is great. And if we could scale that in a way where we can kind of bring everyone into some sort of a family, I think that's how we want to build it. Very flat. Everyone's on the same kind of a level. Everyone has an opinion that they should bring to the table. No one's kind of like left aside. All of these kind of things are really important. Because whilst hierarchies are good and you have to have responsibilities kind of distributed, you also start to alienate people if there's too much hierarchy, and you end up getting rid of creativity and all that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Every job, even when you do work for yourself, you're going to be doing things that you love, things that you don't love so much. So I guess what aspects of the job do you personally find the most joy in and excitement?
I love being on top of the product side of things,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of seeing a vision come into reality, and also taking in what the customers are saying and then delivering them something, or even just not even what they're saying but what they're doing. So looking at how they're behaving within the tool, and then coming up with some sort of feature or addition that will enhance their experience, and then seeing that come about because of that. So I really enjoy I'm a big picture kind of a person, so I like to have the big picture. I'm a bit less in the detail.
Yeah.
My business partner is very good at the detail. So I like to be on top of the strategy of this is what we need to do to get to the bigger picture and run that across.
In regards to having, like we said, kind of a foot in the door in Israel, a foot in the door in Australia, with your business partner being there, how would you compare the two areas in regards to startup culture, competitiveness between companies, friendliness, things like that?
So the startup culture in Australia is growing. There's amazing startups coming out of Australia. And there's also the VC space is really fantastic, and it's really developing its own kind of a culture and space, but it's still small compared to Israel. I mean, Israel's very well established. Israel's also got this, and it's a whole country. It's not just the startup kind of scene, but there's very little hierarchy and very little red tape to do much.
Yeah.
So you can speak to a CEO, at a multinational corp that's got their R&D center, and there's no problems. You can do that. Where in Oz, it's probably harder to get that type of a meeting, and it'll probably take longer to do a sale to them.
Sure.
Also, there's more of a global mindset in Israel, because it's a smaller country, and it's not so easy to trade with your partners, etc. So you immediately go straight to the US, and there's the expertise in how to do that, and the people you hire have done that before, and they know what they're doing. Where in Australia, most of the companies usually start selling in Australia, and then they'll branch out to the States or to the UK or wherever it is. Which is good, but often you're missing out on the cultural difference.
Yeah.
So you're building a product for Australia, and then you think, fantastic, it works, and then you
It'll
scale
work
it out
everywhere.
there,
Yeah.
and then it doesn't,
Yeah.
because you haven't built it with the bigger market in mind. So that's a big difference in being the two locations.
I recently read an article about concern of this tech bubble bursting in Tel Aviv. Being in the center of it, what's your own perspective in regards to how the startup culture will continue in 2, 3, 10, 5 years, however long?
Yeah, I think well in Israel we're seeing that there's less investment in seed and more in later rounds.
Okay.
Which means that the economy is maturing in the sense that these once startups are now becoming bigger companies. So I think that's quite a positive thing for the Israeli economy in a sense, because it's basically building tech companies here that are actual companies that are, can hold weight.
So does that mean, I guess, that you feel like they'll stop trying to build up companies like from the start, from the get-go?
It's a very interesting question. Very interesting question. Because I think that the drive came, basically this country came because of the opportunity, right? Because people really wanted to succeed. They wanted to make a difference, to make an impact. And when you're comfortable, like often that desire is sometimes less. So I think as the economy matures, people might become more happy in their jobs and stable, and maybe that innovation kind of drive might go. Not necessarily a bad thing. But I also think there's a real energy here with people wanting to kind of start new ventures, and I think that's kind of built into the culture as well. So it's interesting in terms of there being a bubble. I'm not sure that I've seen that. I think there's still appetite for venture capital, and I think the VCs are still investing in startups, maybe just changing the different stages of the startups. But I think there's still appetite there, and there's been a lot of investment this year. I think it's 6 billion or something went in 2018 into startups. Yeah. So I can't see there being a bubble in that sense. But it kind of traces the economy, right? There's no one's going to buy your startup's products, and your startup's not going to succeed.
That's true. Yeah.
So we kind of track that as well. Yeah. So there's no easy answers. I don't know. I hope not.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, that's all the questions I have. If you have any advice or anything for startup wannabes that are maybe looking for investment or already have their own companies, anything, words of...
So the advice that our investors always gave us was just to do it. And that's stuck with us throughout the process. Is, you know, you can sit and you can plan until your heart's content, but if you don't do it, nothing will happen. So it's better to do than to not do, and we've really taken that into our ethos, and, you know, test it, put it out there, don't wait. If something sounds right and it makes sense, do it. So that's kind of like my main advice, and that's probably the thing that's driven us and pushed us, because it's often easier to not do something.
It is.
To do something.
It's always easier.
It's always easier to not do something than to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just got to do it.
I always like to think good things don't come easy. So.
Good things, yeah, and good things don't come easy. It's been a long journey. That's the thing. I was reading an article today. This Australian startup sold for 23 million to American Express, and the founder said that it was like a 6-year process for him to get there. Of these up and downs, you just don't hear about it, you know, in the thing. So it's not easy, and it takes a long time, but.
Right. So that actually does kind of bring up another question. What is the dream end goal? Do you want to grow the company, make it huge, or would you prefer to try to get acquired and join some other type of company that already has tons of resources that you wouldn't have to go out and try to find on your own?
I think we've got a company that we can grow. That's my honest assessment, is that this could be a big company. And that's how we're building it, and that's the way that we're going.
Okay.
And it's a strategy we've put in place, and with our integrations, it makes it, and the data that we hold from, you know, these interviews means that we can really build this into something big. Who knows what happens and what's on the road?
Of course, yeah.
Like, you just don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So yeah, I couldn't say yes or no, but the plan is to make this into a big company.
Great. Well, thank you again for joining me.
Thanks.
It's a great pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Hope to
Thanks
have
for
you
your time.
again sometime, yeah.
Sounds good.
Once you blow up and have 1,000 employees, we can talk about how the plans change.
Sounds good.
Great, thank you.
Cheers, Benny. Thanks, mate.
What's up, everybody? Thank you for watching the first episode of Tel Aviv Tech Talks. I hope you enjoyed hearing from Benjy as much as I enjoyed speaking to him. If you'd like to learn more about Benjy's company, MyInterview, be sure to check out the caption of this video where you can find more information. In upcoming episodes, we dive a bit more into government technology, GovTech. I speak with Ayal from Zen City, and he takes us through his groundbreaking technology to help local governments be able to analyze their effectiveness and just really so much more. You'll have to tune in, and if there's any companies that you want to hear from, be sure to leave them in the comments below. I will reach out to them personally and try to get them to interview. There's so much technology going on here, it's really hard to know where to start. Thank you.